This is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by our friends at the Bearded Iris Brewing Company, here to go over SEC baseball results from Friday night. It would be May the 12th, and boy, there was some interesting stuff that happened. Let's start at the top. Arkansas, can you believe this? Arkansas, if I told you a few weeks ago all the injuries that the Razorbacks have had, that as we sit here with 5 games left in the regular season, Arkansas would be in first. I don't think even Arkansas fans would have believed me, but here we are, folks. The Razorbacks, the number one team in the league this morning, regardless of division, a half game over LSU, which I'll get to next, because Arkansas did it once again with really good pitching and piecing it together. And this time, Arkansas only needed 2 guys. Hagen Smith starts. He goes 5 2/3, gives up 1 earned run. Gage Wood finishes that out with 3 1/3, almost perfect innings. He only faces 11 hitters. Arkansas didn't do a lot offensively, but Kendall Diggs got 2 hits and drove in 3. The last one was a 2-run single through second to break that game open late. If you are South Carolina, that was not a completely discouraging night. Yes, you would like to have seen more hitting from Cassis and Petrie and Messina and some of those guys. You did get Braylon Wimmer back, so you're starting to get a little healthier. But Eli Jones goes 5 innings and gives up 2 runs, both those earned, strikes out 10. If you're Carolina, you left the night a little bit encouraged. Cade Austin is where it went wrong out of relief. He gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. The Gamecocks at 14-10 and probably need to get a win this series, to make sure they're in that hosting mix at some point. 2 more to go. Will be interesting to see how those play. I say hosting mix, probably hosting 2 weekends, because I think Carolina, barring disaster, is going to host at least one, but we'll see where this goes. Okay, on Arkansas's tail is LSU, which, correct me if you've heard this before, Paul Skenes goes 7, strikes out 13, gives up just 1 against a powerful Mississippi State lineup. State gets run ruled in Baton Rouge in this one. For LSU, Dylan Cruz goes 0 for 4, so that chance to hit 500 is dwindling pretty quickly if it hadn't gone already. But LSU just does what LSU does, and that's hit top to bottom. Home runs from Dugas, White, Jobert, Thompson. This lineup just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting, and did it again to State. As for State, I don't know what else to say. That the pitching was awful again, and with Missouri winning, which we'll get to later, State's hopes to get to Hoover took a big, big blow last night. In Gainesville, Florida closes within a game of the lead in the SEC East and will have a chance to even that on Saturday because Brandon Sproat was outstanding. He had 3 pitches working, goes 6 innings, gives up no runs, 5 strikeouts. Did give up a lot of base runners, but Vanderbilt just could not hit with guys in position. The Gators just hammer right-handers, and they did that to Vandy's Patrick Riley, who's starting in place of Carter Holton, Vandy's number 1 guy who has missed a couple of weekends now, and frankly, there's a lot of questions about that and where it is going. The Gators touch Riley for 8 runs, all those earned in 4 innings. I think had maybe 6 extra base hits off him, including a couple of home runs. Ryapel and Derek Fabian hit home runs. Josh Rivera was out in this one. He got an injury, I think, sliding into a base maybe last Sunday. So the Gators go without their All-American caliber shortstop. Didn't matter. Fabian plugs in, knocks in 4 runs, and Florida now within a game from Vanderbilt, which drops to 3rd in the SEC's overall standings. In Knoxville, Tennessee does what it does at home, and that's hit home runs. The Vols got them for Hunter Inslee, Jared Dickey, Christian Moore, and 2 from Griffin Merritt off a Kentucky team that doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Travis Smith started for the Cats. He was good last week and sort of an out-of-the-blue start. He'd been a midweek guy for them. Didn't go so well in Knoxville. The Vols touch him for 6 runs in 2 innings, and then the Cats, as they are wont to do, piece it together with 5 bullpen arms from there. Christian Howell got hit a bit. For the Vols, Andrew Lindsey, their converted closer, was good once again. He throws 103 pitches, allows 2 runs and 6 2/3 innings against a Kentucky lineup that can really stress pitchers and make them see a lot of pitches. So to get through 6 2/3 against that lineup was a little bit of an accomplishment, especially in that ballpark. Tennessee now is over 500 in the SEC, I believe, for the first time all year. Kentucky drops to, I believe, 14-11, still number one in the RPI. The Cats need to get one this weekend. And I think if Tennessee gets one of two of the remaining two and Kentucky gets one of two, both teams probably leave the weekend pretty happy. Before we get on to Auburn and Ole Miss and some of the other games left, a quick shout to our sponsor, the Bearded Iris Brewing Company. The Sylvan Supply location in the west side of Nashville is home to Black Dynasty's Secret Ramen House. You'll find a wide variety of comforting bowls of meaty and vegan-friendly ramen with house-made noodles alongside rotating weekly features, seasonal sides, salads, and desserts. Check out our friends at the Bearded Iris Brewing Company on the west side of Nashville and tell them you heard about them at Southeastern 14. Okay, Ole Miss and Auburn were supposed to play game one on Thursday night. That got rained out, so they play a doubleheader that started on Friday afternoon. And spoiler alert, this was all Auburn in both games. The Tigers win those 16-4 and 8-2. Ole Miss now almost assuredly is going to be locked out of Hoover. For Auburn, I think the big story again, Tommy Vail, who's been great, goes 8 innings, gives up 1 run, strikes out 6, gives up just 3 base runners. Ike Irish hits a home run in that 8-2 win. Ole Miss, JT Quinn didn't have a good start. The bullpen didn't pick him up either. In game 2, which Auburn wins, this was game 1. The 16-4 win was game 1. In that one, Auburn pieced it together with Chase Alsop, Connor Copeland, Tanner Bauman, who's pitching really well. Man, Auburn, does any coach in the country over the last 5 years get more out of his talent than Butch Thompson? These guys just figure it out. And frankly, this team is starting to remind me of Ole Miss a year ago, where you get a couple of pitchers that really come on late in the season, out of the blue. The hitting has just been there just about every weekend, it seems. Cole Foster hits 2 more home runs in that game. Nate LaRue hits 1. Auburn pounds out 17 hits and just annihilates Ole Miss in Oxford by a 16-4 count. At College Station, I really thought Alabama, after taking 2 of 3 against Vandy last week and the coaching change and getting that behind, was poised for bigger things. A&M had not been as dominant at home as some other teams in the league had been, but A&M has also been hitting the tar out of the ball recently. And Alabama ran into that. Trevor Werner, Brett Minnick, Jace Lavalette each hit home runs. I think Werner had 3 in that game. But in any case, it just was a disaster for Alabama pitching. Luke Holman gives up 6 earned and 4 1/3. Hagen Banks pitches after him. He gets touched. Really, everybody Alabama threw out there got hit hard in an 11-5 win for A&M. Evan Aschenbach, their super reliever, goes 3 innings, gives up no runs. Actually, 1 run, none earned. And A&M now at 12-13 and in great position to make a regional. Okay, last game. This came in Columbia, Missouri, where Missouri's been fairly good at home most of the year, and Georgia really needed this one, but boy, didn't get it. Colton Smith goes just an inning. Luke Wagner was a disaster in relief. And Missouri, the lowest scoring team in the league, but these guys bring the bats at times and getting a little home run happy lately. Luke Mann, who's one of the more underappreciated players in the league, pops 2 home runs. Missouri gets home runs also from Ross Lovich, Hank Zeisler, and Ty Wilmsmeyer. Chandler Murphy, their left-handed starter, the transfer from Arizona, goes 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, both those earned. And so that was a really, really good start against a very powerful Georgia lineup. Connor Tate hits another home run for Georgia. I've lost count of how many he's got, but it's got to be closing in on 20 or past it. That's a team that hits a lot of home runs. And Missouri on Friday night beats the Bulldogs at their own game in Columbia. And by the way, Missouri now in great position to get to Hoover. I think maybe just one more win will just about wrap it up. Okay, I'm Chris Lee for Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris. We'll have a recap Sunday morning of Saturday night's games. Best way to catch that, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button, too, if you don't mind. That helps our analytics. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon with more baseball content at Southeastern 14.